Welcome to Sumita Roy's English classroom. I'm Professor Sumita Roy, and today we are beginning lexical verbs. We shall talk about the root and the derivative of some lexical verbs. Lexical verbs are the main verbs, the action verbs, the verbs which show something is happening, unlike the auxiliary verbs which we have done in two videos earlier. Then we shall talk about the irregular and regular lexical verbs. We shall talk about intransitive and transitive verbs. Also, some verbs which are both transitive and intransitive, and some verbs which are ditransitive. Then we shall, for each of them, we shall have examples to help you to learn better, and then some exercises to test yourselves. Because if we learn some grammar, we need to test ourselves. So let us begin with lexical verbs or main verbs, different from auxiliary verbs or helping verbs. Now, in primary auxiliary verbs, I told you that they can do the function of a main verb and a helping verb. That we saw in the video which we have. Today, we are only going to talk about lexical verbs. I'm not talking about the tense of verbs. We have 12 divisions of time in English, which I will do in separate videos. That will take a few videos, but today only two varieties, regular, irregular, transitive, intransitive. Here we have a list, as you can see on your screen, where you have in the first column the root verb. This I also told you in the primary auxiliary verb form. The modal auxiliaries do not have the root. They have only a single form. Here, all the lexical verbs have a root, which is to plus verb. You see, after root, I have written the rule also. That is to plus the verb. This is called infinitive. The term I'm not using because it's a big term, not necessary for you. We will do finite, non-finite verbs in one video where I will tell you about it. We can also have the verb without it, the root form, without to, that is called bare infinitive. Bare means you remove something, and that what you remove is to. The verb in its root form is the present tense. It's the same form. It doesn't change at all, except for the singular third person pronouns. The singular third person pronouns use a singular form of the verb, and that is verb plus s. So you can see to work is the root, to treat is the root, to paint is the root, to repair is the root, to protect is the root, to sing, to write, to eat, to see, to rise, to show. These are all the root forms. Now the present tense has two forms, work and works. I have not written the full thing. I've just put s at the end. Then treat, treats, paint, paints, repair, repairs, protect, protects, sing, sings, write, writes, eat, eats, see, sees, rise, rises, show, shows. So with he, she, and it, we shall say works, treats, paints, repairs. With I, we, you, singular, plural, and they, we shall use the verb without the s. For this, you have to watch the pronoun video, which will give you pronoun number 1, which will give you clarity. Now we come to the past tense. Now look at the rule for the present tense. I've just put we in brackets. That means you remove the to from the root. You have in root to plus v. If you keep v, that is the present tense. To you remove, you can have only v. That is your present tense. Now the past tense has two rules. One is that to verb, that is v, the root form without to, you add the form ed plus ed, or you make a change. Look at the V I have put in a different color. I have highlighted it in a different color. That means we are changing the complete form or we are retaining it. We don't know what we have to do. So I told you the names, regular and irregular. Now the verbs which make ed in past tense, and look at the last column on your right, and past participle, verb plus ed, verb plus ed. I have put them in red color on the screen and the others in blue color. So you can see the red colored verbs all have ed in the past tense, ed in the past participle. These verbs have a regular pattern. Any new verb introduced into the English language follows this pattern. These are called regular verbs. Regular because the past tense and the past participle are the same form ending with ed. Now, same form we can have irregular also, but they have to end in ed. In irregular, we can have one form with ed and the other form with something else. So those are not regular. Here, the regular, the rule is the past tense and the past participle both have ed ending. That is suffix. We will study prefix, suffix, and vocabulary. Suffix ed is added to the verb in its root form without to. The rule is given to you, and the irregular verb is a changed form. We don't know. It might be the same, it might be changed. Something might happen to it. We do not know. Whereas the present participle rule is standard for all regular and irregular verbs. You take the verb and you add ing to it. So look at the list which I have made. Now this list you have to write with all the 100 verbs you know. Please complete this in some kind of a notebook or a file on your computer, because without knowing this, you cannot speak correct English, you cannot write correct English. I have given you just a few examples. That is not enough. So I've given you half the sheet regular verbs and the other half irregular verbs. Now let us see quickly the regular ones. Work, works, worked, working, worked. So worked and worked are the same, regular. Treat, treats, treated, treating, treated. So treated and treated, same, regular. Paint, paints, painted, painting, painted, regular because painted twice. Repair, repairs, repaired, repairing, and repaired again, so regular. Protect, protects, protected, protecting, and protected, protected 2 times, so regular. Now look at the irregular ones. I'm not reading the present tense and the present participle because they are just the same. The rule has not changed. The rule changes for the past tense and the past participle. So past tense of sing is sang and past participle is sung. Write is wrote and written. Eat is ate and eaten. See is saw and seen. Rise is rose and risen. Show is showed. Now see, ed is there, but it is not there in the past participle. It is shown. So although ed is there in past tense, we cannot call it a regular verb because it is not showed past participle. It is shown past participle. So this list shows you the irregular and the regular verbs. Now you have to remember that the irregular verbs are the original verbs in the language. They are the verbs for the basic work which verbs do, the basic functions which are carried out, actions which are carried out. So they are often called strong verbs because you can't change them. The other verbs, the regular verbs, are always the same form. We don't have to worry about them. I have taken only one verb here, and that is to take. So to take is take and takes. Then past tense is took. Present participle is taking. And past participle is taken. When we study the tenses, I will explain to you all the structures which are here. But today we are just looking at the verb forms. Now we can easily make out that the verb take is an irregular verb because past tense is took and past participle is taken. So I have given you one verb with examples for all forms. Now you remember how many verbs there are in the previous slide. For every verb, I would like all of you to make sentences like this. Then once you make sentences, not one, but maybe 10 sentences for each usage, you will become familiar with the use of the verb. If you just look at this slide and previous slide, no improvement comes to you unless you practice it on your own. So you say, I wanted to take a break. That is the root form, to take. We take turns to do housework. That is present plural. We, because it's plural form, so we take. She takes the children to school in the morning. Then present singular, because she, it is takes. The carpenter took the saw to cut wood. So past tense took. The plumber is taking the pipes out to repair them. Carpenter, plumber, all this we learned in the easy, English learning professions list. Then you have taking, present participle. The patient has already taken his medicine, past participle, taken. So these need helping verbs. Is a helping verb, has is a helping verb. I'm going to tell you this in another video where we do, or a series of videos on the tense time divisions. As I told you, the irregular verbs are the most important verbs in a language because we constantly use them for simple actions. Most of these actions are verbs which were strong, that is, it comes down to us from the earlier ages also, and they have their own forms. The regular verbs, we don't have to study all that much because the pattern is standard, whereas irregular verbs are few in number, but we have to study them individually because the pattern differs. So I have given you a few irregular verbs here with their past tense and past participle. This, if we practice, then we become better. Otherwise, many times mistakes are made. Instead of using past tense, you use past participle. Instead of using past participle, you use past tense. These are, sometimes made, mistakes which you can correct by looking at this list. For instance, to grow, root form is grew past tense and grown past participle. To teach is taught and taught, same form, but it is not regular because it doesn't end in ed both. Then keep, kept, kept, same form. Then go, went, gone, different form. Then hide, hid, hidden, different form. Then you have break, broke, broken, different form. Bring, brought, and brought, same form, but not ed ending. So it is irregular. Dream, dreamt, dreamt. Again, the same form, but not ed ending. Then hurt. Now look at this. Hurt is the same form for everything. The present tense also is the same, and the past is also the same, and the past participle is also the same. No change at all. Many verbs are like that. Let, three forms. Then meet, met, two forms are similar. Put, all three forms are similar. Sell, sold, two forms. Then fall, fell, fallen, all three forms are different. Stand, stood. So stood are similar. Then run, ran, run. Now this is a new pattern where The present tense form or the root form without to is the same as the past participle. The past tense is different. Past tense is ran and past participle is run. Then win, won, both are same. Ride, rode, ridden. This is a different form. Then sit, sat, and sat, both are same. Steal, stole, stolen, different. Think, thought, thought, same. And tell, told, and told. These are all irregular verbs. The reason they are irregular is because the past tense and the past participle do not follow the regular pattern of ending in ed. Both have to end in ed, then only it can be called as a regular verb. So now you can make two separate lists of all the verbs you know and classify them whether they are regular or irregular. Here are some examples of irregular verbs where the past tense and the past participle are used. You can see went, past tense, gone, past participle. Hurt, past tense, hurt, past participle. Fell, past tense, fallen, past participle. Stole, past tense, stolen, past participle. Showed, past tense, shown, past participle. Broke, past tense, broken, past participle. So he went to Delhi, they have gone abroad. She hurt herself badly, someone has hurt the puppy. The roof fell down after heavy rain, some leaves have fallen from the tree. Some thief stole all the jewels. My pen has been stolen. A helpful man showed me the way. This movie was shown in the theater. Who broke this glass? The window pane has been broken. So you have the examples of the past tense, past participle. This is where the irregular verbs have problem. This is where most people make mistakes. That is why I've given you a few examples. Now it is up to you to make as many sentences with all the lists which I've given you. Add to the list newer verbs, verbs which you know, but which I have not included, so that the the list becomes longer and your capability to use the verbs, whether they are regular or irregular, becomes that much easier. Here is an exercise for you to do, a test, where a table is given to you and some parts, some columns in this table are blank. Nothing has been put there. You have to complete those blanks, and then you have to also say whether the verb is regular or irregular. Look at the columns which are there. The first column is the root verb, where one root is missing. The next column is present tense, where two verbs present tense is missing. Then you have the next one, that is past tense, where three are missing. Then you have present participle, where two are missing. And then you have the past participle, where again two are missing. So the rest of the verbs are given to you. You have to fill in these. Now, looking at the past tense and past participle, you can easily write down in the last column which of them is regular and which is irregular. If the past tense and past participle have ed ending, same both of them, then it is regular. If past tense has ed but past participle doesn't have, or it is a changed form in both, or it is the same form in all three or two, then it is irregular because it doesn't have a pattern. It doesn't have a rule which can be followed. So this is a test for all of you. Please stop here for a minute, do the test, then go ahead and check the answers. Here are the answers. In the first verb, to stuff, one was missing, and that is stuffed past tense. Since stuffed past tense and stuffed past participle are both ed ending and same, exactly the same, it is a regular verb. In the second verb, to mash, what was missing is the present tense. So the present tense has two forms, mash and mashes. Sh sound is there, therefore we have to add es. Just adding s is not enough. We have to add es. Then we also, it is regular because mashed and mashed, past tense and past participle are the same. Then in to worry, we had present participle missing, and that is worrying. Since worried and worried are both the past tense and past participle, are forms with ed ending, y at the end of the word usually changes spelling to I. We will do a video on spelling rules. I'll tell you more about it. But here you see, worrying, no change at all. And since it is ed ending, both past tense, past participle, it is a regular verb. Then the root was missing. The root is to pray. And it's regular because prayed, past tense, prayed, past participle. Then in the next verb, past tense was missing. It is hit, the same form for present, past, and past participle. It's irregular because it doesn't follow the regular pattern. To turn, the next verb, missing was present participle. It is turning, and it is regular because turned and turned are both ed ending, past tense and past participle. Then you have reflect. To reflect form is the past participle is missing. It is reflected. Since past tense and past participle are both ed ending, therefore it is a regular verb. Then you have to see. Missing was past tense. The form is saw. And since all the forms are same, see, saw, and seen, it is an irregular verb. Then eat, we have the present tense missing. So we have two forms in the present tense, eat and eats. It is an irregular verb because we have eat, ate, eaten. Then you have sleep, where the past participle is missing. It is slept. And since sleep, slept, slept, it is irregular. So in this way, I hope you've completed the exercise and got them all right. Now we move on to the second category of verbs, where we talk about transitive, intransitive verbs, and then some verbs which can act both as transitive and intransitive, and some transitive verbs which are ditransitive. That means they have two times or two objects to them. The difference between a transitive and an intransitive verb is that a transitive verb is a verb which is incomplete without a noun or pronoun acting as its object. The noun or pronoun has to come immediately as the direct object. We have studied this in the third video of the nouns, that is the noun functions. The object, it can be a direct one or it can be an indirect object. So we are not talking about indirect objects here. We are only talking about the direct object. A transitive verb is a verb which compulsorily needs a direct object. It cannot complete its meaning without an immediate noun or pronoun behind it, a direct object. An intransitive verb does not take an object. It can take a prepositional object or it can take some other word like an adverb or an adjective and so on, but not a direct object. So intransitive, that which does not take a direct object, transitive, which takes a direct object. These are the two things which you have to remember. Where the number of objects is two, usually one human and one non-human, the human one is indirect object and only the direct object is the thing. There we call it ditransitive. And where Certain verbs can do both functions. They can take a direct object and they can make sense without a direct object also. So they have both transitive and intransitive uses. So in these two slides, I'm going to explain to you how they are used. Now look at this transitive list. I have given the verb and the sentence together. So all examples are in the same slide. Praise, transitive verb. The boss praised. Now, if you stop the sentence here, then it doesn't make sense. The boss praised whom? The boss praised what? Questions are there. Direct object is needed. So the boss praised his work. Then hold. The best player is holding. Now, holding what? Holding the cup. So the direct object. Grab. The customers grabbed the items. Grabbed what? So the items. You can bring a cake. You can bring what? A cake. Sentence is not complete if you say you can bring. Then what should you bring? He built his company. Now, built. You have built what? His company from scratch. From scratch, of course, is prepositional object. We are not worried about it. He built his company. Company here is the direct object. The master scolded his servant. Scolded whom? Servant. Then the porter pulled the load. Pulled what? The load. She cleans the house. She cleans what? The house. The machine washes clothes. Washes what? If you stop the sentence at the verb, it doesn't make sense. That is a transitive verb. It needs the noun to complete, and it should be a direct noun, not a noun joined with a preposition or any other word. Now, here you have intransitive. The train has arrived. No question needs to be asked. Complete sentence, full, end with a verb, nothing is needed. The audience laughed. Stop the sentence or put an adverb loudly. The audience laughed loudly. No noun is there, but sentence is complete, intransitive. The farmers prayed for rain. The farmers prayed, complete. For rain, prepositional object, no worry, nothing to, no direct object. We are listening. Now, end of sentence, complete, no need to say anything. To music. To is prepositional object music using to. So prepositional object can be there, but other words can be there, but not a direct object. The crowd vanished. Nothing is there. Verb ends. He is waiting. Again, the sentence ends with the verb. Nothing is needed. The sun rises. End of sentence. Prepositional object in the east. You can put it, you can remove it, no problem. The student apologized. Verb ends the sentence. We don't need anything more. Many dogs bark. Finished. Bark can end the sentence. At night, prepositional object, no worry, intransitive. So intransitive cannot take a direct object. Transitive must have a direct object. There is compulsory necessity for a direct object. These are the two things. Let us move on. As I told you in the earlier slide, here we have some examples of ditransitive verbs, verbs which need or which can take two objects immediately. One of them is the direct object, but the other one which comes in front, although it's an indirect one, but still it can be accepted without adding a preposition or any such thing. These verbs, the ditransitive verbs, can also be used with a single direct object as transitive verbs. So ditransitive, when it has two objects, one after another, and single transitive, when it has one object. So you have assure. The college assured him a seat. Now, if you remove him, it becomes transitive. The college assured a seat. That also is a correct sentence. The college assured him. Him is the indirect object and a seat is the direct object. These two objects, usually the first one a human and the other one a non-human or an animal, this is a common usage of these verbs. Tell. The speaker told them many interesting facts. So them, you have one preposition, a pronoun, and facts, you have the direct object. The speaker told them many interesting facts. Then you have teach. She teaches her child good manners. She teaches good manners, then her child is the other object, two objects. Father bought him a car, him and car. The chief guest gave them prizes. Then you have gave, them, and prizes. The circus clown showed us many tricks. Us and many tricks. You can lend him your books. Books and him. The parents named the child Vishnu. Child and Vishnu. Then you have verbs which can act as both transitive and intransitive. So you have first the intransitive usage and then the transitive usage. Study. Students study. Complete sentence. No need for anything else. They study commerce. So noun is there, makes it transitive. You can leave now. Now is not a noun. So you can leave now, intransitive usage. Please move. He is leaving the room. Leaving the room. The room immediately comes after the verb leave, and therefore it becomes transitive. Move. Please move aside. Aside also is not a noun, so it is intransitive. The cleaner moved the tables. This is transitive because tables is noun and therefore direct object. The neighbor is watching. Verb ends the sentence, so intransitive. Spectators are watching the match. The match is here, the direct object makes the watching into a transitive usage. So in this way, certain verbs in English can do both intransitive and transitive function. If those which have only transitive function are used intransitively, your sentence is wrong. If those which are intransitive you use with a direct object, your grammar is wrong. If you interchange them, it is wrong. If the verb can act as transitive, intransitive both, you are never wrong. In this way, you might make mistakes in the use of verbs, so you have to be a little careful. This is a test for you. This is the last of our tests. This and the answers ends this video. So, are the underlined transitive or intransitive? The sentences are, she brought some crabs from the shore. She rested on the shore. The birds flew in the sky. The gulls caught some fish. The weeds grew in the water. So the verbs are brought, the past tense of bring, rested, past tense of rest, flew, past tense of fly, caught, past tense of catch, and grew, past tense of grow. So I have not asked you whether they are regular or irregular here because that exercise we've done, but you can do it on your own, no problem. You can easily guess which of the verbs are regular and which are irregular. But the exercise here is to point out which of them has an object immediately, a direct object, then it is transitive, and which does not have a direct object, then it is intransitive. So that you have to do. Take a minute to do it and then check the answers. Now here are the answers. Brought immediately has some crabs. Some crabs. The verb noun crabs is the direct object here, makes it into a transitive verb, transitive usage. Because if you say she brought, question remains, what did she bring? Then you have to say she brought some crabs. Therefore, transitive. Then she rested on the shore. She rested. Sentence is complete. No problem at all. So on the shore is a prepositional object. We are not worried about prepositional objects. There is no direct object, therefore it is intransitive. The birds flew in the sky. Again, the birds flew. End of sentence. Doesn't require in the sky. Then you can say it is intransitive because in the sky is the prepositional object sky preposition using the preposition in. The gulls caught some fish. Now again see the gulls caught. Incomplete sentence. What did they catch? Some fish. So transitive. And then the weeds grew. End of sentence. No need for anything. In the water. In the water prepositional. Therefore intransitive. So you have 3 intransitive and 2 transitive usages. Out of this, you can see that almost all of them are irregular verbs except rest, which is rested. Whether past tense or past participle, it is rested. So that is the regular verb. Bring, brought, and flew, fly, flew, catch, caught, and grow, grew are all irregular verbs. As I told you, we use maximum irregular verbs. So with this, we come to an end of the verbs, identifying them as transitive, intransitive, regular, irregular. This will be very useful in the following, chapters like active and passive voice, etc. So this video you have to watch carefully, learn what is being done, and test yourself using the exercises. The examples will explain to you, and the exercises will help you to know whether you have understood what is being taught. Thank you, and all the best.